2025 budget into law. In a speech after signing the budget into law Thursday, the governor appreciated the Victor Okojumbo-led State Assembly for doing a good job. And this happened amidst criticism for the governor's decision to present the bill to just three-man panel. Also, President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday, that's New Year's Day, said that the year 2025 would bring brighter days for all Nigerians. The president, who said this in his New Year message to Nigerians, added that his government would fulfill the collective desires of Nigerians. These and many for our attention today. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to today's episodes of Firecrackers. My name is Iribami Salako, and I have with me here in the studio Femi Onakore, policy analyst. Thank you so much for being here with us in the studio. Also, we also have joining us virtually from Ibadan, Dr. Stephen Lafenwa. He's a senior lecturer at the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Okay, so now let us first go on this break. We want to first start on the topic that's NLC's rejection of tax bill. So let us see this report on what it is all about. When we come back, we'll start discussions in the studio. To stay with us. The Nigerian Labour Congress reiterated its call for the federal government to withdraw the contentious tax bills currently before the National Assembly. In his New Year message, NLC President Joe Ajaero emphasized that the welfare of Nigerian workers is a primary reason for this demand. The NLC urged the government to prioritize transparency, inclusivity and honesty in its dealing with the masses. The NLC maintains that the tax bill, if passed, could exacerbate the economic hardship faced by Nigerian workers. Instead, the Labour body has advocated for a new national tax law that would enjoy wider acceptance and propel national development. He said that the Nigerian Labour Congress extends warm New Year greetings to every workers and citizens across the great nation. The challenges of survival that we have faced as a people must not hold us down. Instead, let us find inner strength to build a collective resolve to drive Nigeria out of the morass of underdevelopment that has held it captive for far too long, he added. As we embark on a national dialogue in Ibadan in January 2025, we want to join hands in co-creating a new national tax law that would enjoy wider acceptance and fulfill the purpose of propelling national development, which we believe is the main objective of government. The increasing use of violence in engagement with workers and unions must cease, as it is a recipe for industrial disharmony. Trade unions, which they are as a pan-people organization, remains a committed partner in progress, striving for the development of Nigeria while protecting the rights of workers and citizens at large. Let us unite in our resolve to ensure a Nigeria where workers' welfare, decent work environment and security of lives and properties are prioritized. Together, through collective effort and determination, we can transform our nation into one of progress, inclusion and shared prosperity, the NLC president said. Have you back if you are just joining us. This is Firecrackers, and we want to talk about NLC's rejection of the tax bill. NLC President, that's Joe Ajaero, made this declaration on the first day of 2025. That's on Wednesday. So now I'm starting with my guest here in the studio. Let us even first of all look at how people are saying this. The NLC are supposed to represent workers, perhaps even a large portion of Nigerians who are also workers. If we look at how the federal government have painted this bill, is something that is supposed to curb multiple taxation. It's something that's supposed to be for the benefit of all Nigerians, especially state governors, state government who are actually producing something that is supposed to generate a lot of revenue, even for Nigeria and for the state governors too. But now that we have the NLC saying that they should withdraw the bill for wider consultation, do you think that is actually in the best interest of the workers?
It's a very interesting the position that the NLC president took regarding the tax reform bill. I first must state that that particular bill is one of the most transformative development from this administration. It's going under the radar because a lot of people are politicizing the issues around it. But the impact in terms of the economy, how the economy is going to benefit from it, the creation of jobs, reduced tax burden across different layers of people, makes it a very laudable, project to pursue, which makes the position of the NLC president a bit, interesting. One tends to look at it, with a deeper light. One of the first things that we need to establish, and it's a misnomer that we've encouraged over time, is that the NLC is not a social activist group. It's a union of workers to serve workers' interests. It is not a socio-political harm for workers to actually express, whatever grievances, they may have with their employers or with the government. It's a union, really carries the mandate of the union. So his position in talking about collaborating with stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in the tax structure? Right, there's the taxman, right, who's going to tax, and there's the different companies, individuals who work. Are we going to get every individual to give us a voice? That's why they have elected representatives, as it were, at the upper and lower chambers. So the job has already been given to the people who should appropriate it. After reading what the tax reform bill, the proposal by Mr. Oyedele is, then the job has already been done. The National Assembly present what they feel is good or bad. Let them assess it and give us a passing, as it were, for the bill. But the NLC's position, it is very fuzzy. It's neither here nor there. I read the interview that he gave, right, and some of it just sounded like a bit of rhetoric to me, if I may say. And that's because he never really said there was a particular thing wrong with the bill, as it were. Every time that Mr. Oyedele has come out, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele has come out to talk about that bill, he has tried to explain the benefits that come with the passing of the bill. I mean, reduced VAT, right? Removal of VAT, as it were in some cases, reduction of tax burden for particular income position, reduction of corporate tax, right, from 30% to 25%, which of course means that the bottom line for companies increases, right, and that means I have more money, I can do expansion, I can recruit more people to, stuff like that. He talks about particular points. At no point thus far as Mr. Ajero or any representative of the NLC said, this is what is wrong, with this bill, or that is what is wrong with this bill. There was a bit of an uproar a while back when some elements tried to make this a political issue that is going to affect some states and they're going to take money from here or there. Essentially, it has been debunked, because what it actually does is the states who may not be manufacturing it, right, or in whose portfolio citizens and customers truly buy, consumption trends, they tend to not have a larger share than what they were having before, which creates a more equitable distribution of the wealth. So if a lot more people are using your stuff in, say, Oyo State or in Ogun State, then because you're getting patronage from that and the government tax, you should get benefits, from that. I mean, it's talked about the harmonization of the different, state issues in terms of tax and reduction of different lines, multiple lines of taxation. In my opinion, he's gone quite the length in presenting, the value that the bill is bringing. Right now, if NLC or Mr. Ajero have objections, I believe that the right approach would not be to say, let's forget about this and all that's been done thus far, and let us call for a fresh reevaluation. I mean, tax is not layman territory; it's a technical area. So I don't know what stakeholder input. After we already have also, representatives, we have legal representation, right? That's supposed to review, and I don't see what the NLC's position in terms of withdrawing the bill to achieve what purpose. Stakeholder inclusion. Who are the stakeholders? What are they bringing to the table? What are the issues? Before coming up with that particular bill, Mr. Oyedele's team actually walked through a long, a process of engagement at different levels, and I was part of, one of those focus groups. So I know the work that has gone into, getting the bill to this position, and all the cleanup and the back and forth before it got to this bill. There has been time throughout the entire process for stakeholders to be involved, for people to be involved. So if the NLC felt, I have something to say, and it never got involved, and then the bill has come to this point, and you're not even allowing the legislature to actually do their job. You say they should just withdraw everything and start all over again. A waste of time, a waste of resources. I mean, it's national resource we're talking about here. I really don't get it. It's just another, in my opinion, politicization of what is really, not connected at all. It's a seeking of relevance, as it were, as a chokehold, and playing the victim to actually victimize the people. Because, like I said, I didn't read or see anything they said there about this is what is wrong with the bill, this is why it should be withdrawn, this point is bad, let them amend it. Nothing like that was stated. So
okay, all right. But do you feel like the NLC start might be coming from a fear of change? Because it's not just in Nigeria, it's all over the world. People usually have this fear that comes with change, and the way some people have painted this bill to be, the side that we have experts coming up to say that okay, it is not so. This is supposed to be for benefits of states, the federal government, and even the whole of Nigeria, even the regional government too. But we have states that who are worried that if this thing, even if they still want to reflect on themselves and look for ways of generating internal revenue, it might still take a while. And we know that some states recently just increased the salary of workers, even some beating the one that the federal government is wanting to pay. So do you feel like perhaps this fear too is coming from that before the state governors get their acts in order, they might suffer? Workers in the state might actually suffer for a while.
Okay, so that brings us to a different conversation, and that's why I said this is a bit of a politicization of the issues. Where has the NLC been thus far prior to this period in terms of welfare of workers, in terms of holding government accountable at different state levels? Now remember, like I said, it's not an activist group, but they want to place social activism. That's fine. Then play it properly. If you're a social activist, if you go to a state that the roads are bad, right, it's workers that's using it. You picket the House of Assembly and say, look, this is what we want. And that's for the benefit of the workers. NLC more often than not comes up when it's regarding issues of salary, and maybe the populist opinions like fuel price increase. Aside from those things, we don't see their engagement in social issues.
Or for electricity.
Yes, we don't see the engagement in social issues. So they only seem to come up when it's how do I put it? It's a national topic that has the potential to snowball into something big and with some political undertone. And I think that's mischievous. It's a misrepresentation of the workers, as it were. Everyone knows that change is inevitable, and it's quite human nature to also be afraid of change. Not a problem. The problem in this scenario is you have to confront reality. And in confronting reality, you have to accept reality. And what's reality telling you? Some states are insolvent. They're insolvent because for some of them, the burden of maintaining the expenditure on their civil service is heavy. What is the civil service producing? What's the value? What's the productivity angle? How is it improving? Is it efficient? Are they just collecting salary? If you go to that area now, then you have a problem, because then NLC will picket you for trying to, right size, the administration and your expenditure. So it really becomes a political play. I don't want to rock the boat until I serve my time and move on, so everybody can know those things. Some states need to face the fact that they are insolvent. They can't go as a going concern. To continue, they may have to borrow, right? And then they will have to come up with creative ways to settle both their obligations, right, and meet up. And if they see that, look, I could have comparative advantage in this, it is painful. The whole process is painful, right? But it is needed for growth. We can't say, let us continue in a way that is inefficient, that is wasteful, that is quite frankly unproductive, just because we say it's going to be, uncomfortable. Like you said, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, now let us ask our guest that's joining us live from Ibadan. That's Dr. Steve Lafenwa. Would you like to share some of your thoughts with us on this contentious tax reform bills? Also, as regards to Nigeria probably being on the path of practicing true federalism.
Yeah, the main problem that NLC is not about tax reform. the main problem has to do with the lack of confidence and trust in government policy. Before now, government has introduced, so many policies. One of them is removal of fuel subsidy. And what they promised Nigerians, including Nigerian workers, was not what we are witnessing now. Two, the floating of naira so as to measure with other currencies in the world. We all know the consequences. So now that the tax reform has come, the best way to get government attention is to say, oh, we don't support you. If they support federal government, federal government will not even listen to them. Now they are not, in support. This is providing another avenue for them to discuss further. Another issue has to do with the increment, the salary wage, the minimum wage increase. Before now, federal government has, increased the minimum wage to 70,000 naira. The issue of reform didn't come up. And you know that when they finished with their negotiation on the 70,000 naira, it was when the fuel pump price, of fuel, gone up. And that is to say that if this policy will still come from the same government, NLC and other Nigerians have that right, to doubt whatever government is going to do with the bill. But I'm not saying NLC by saying, oh, let us throw the baby with the bathwater. No. As the analysts in the studio have said, they're supposed to come up with a position paper. Oh, as far as our Nigerian workers are concerned, who are their members? And they're supposed to promote the interests of their members. What are those things, critical areas, gray areas, that they think will bring untold hardship to Nigerian workers? What are we been paying as tax before, and what is this one, suggesting? So everybody will be able to see it, and they will go along with the NLC. But if they don't have any reason why they said they should not go on with the tax reform, whatever they did, or the process of passing the bill, I don't think that is okay, because the reason why we have pressure group like NLC is to sensitize, to raise the consciousness of their members about the problem affecting them. Not that they will condemn, a policy that we don't even know yet whether it's going to bring us into that Eldorado, or we are still going to go backward. I think what the stage they have now is at the stage of debating, talking, submitting your own your position papers or whatever input that you have, so that they can improve this bill. But like condemning it, like one of the senators, Dume condemn it without even reading it. They did the same thing, because I've not seen anything that NSC has pointed out, the leadership of NSC has pointed out as wrong with the deal. Only that as the analyst has already said, they politicize it. They want to draw attention of federal government to other areas, because NSC has been complaining that federal government shortchanged them after the negotiation, because one of the conditions for accepting 70,000 naira is that there will not be any increase in the pump price of fuel. But now that what we have now, though there is slight decrease in the pump price, but it doesn't make any sense. 30,000 naira in 2023 before May 29, 2023 is far better than 70,000 naira in 2025. So what NSC should do is to, let us highlight the advantages, identify disadvantages, and the likely consequences, negative consequences that the bill will have on its member if it is passed. The bill is not yet passed, but I will also implore federal government. Even governors are not, they are not in agreement with the federal government. They said, let there be more consultation. And what we are waiting for now is for federal government to sensitize Nigeria if this bill is for us, let us see how it benefits us. Because let me point out one of those things that I've already discovered in the bill. They say, okay, for those workers who are earning 800,000 naira per annum, there will not be there will be 0% tax. Now 70% minimum wage multiplied by 12 months, that is 840. That means those workers who are supposed to benefit from this bill, they may feel that, oh, hey, if care is not taken, we may pay more, than what we are paying before. Because what we are paying now is what we call pay as you earn. But if the bill is passed, they may be shortchanged, and that's why maybe they are raising the issue of don't go with that the bill. But I will not support that. Let them suggest to government. The reason why pressure group is there is to advance the interest of its member and also advance the interest of non-member, because we are all living in this society. It may there may be some other areas that they are going to benefit with the issue of VAT. That they are not going to be that will not raise more revenue for the state. That may be a revenue to negotiate with the state governors that for increase in salary. But if they don't continue to say, even for now, states have not even started, they have started paying a minimum wage. In fact, in your state where I am, the governor said it will start in this month. So what are we talking about? And we don't know whether that is sustainable. And as the analyst has already said, most of these states are insolvent. For example, Zamfara and the rest, how much are they generating internally that we support them? And that's why one of the reasons why people don't even care about what local government wants to do in their state, because they don't what rates are they paying, what fees are they paying, what development levels are they paying. The only thing that everything will be free. And if we want to stop borrowing in Nigeria, if we don't want to mortgage our future now, let us see to this whatever the tax reform bill. Most of developed countries that we have today that are enjoying dividends of democracy, they are paying tax. You cannot just go to Europe and begin to waste water anyhow. You cannot go to Europe and say, oh, everything is free. No. We have to look at it. What are those rules? What are those things that we need to look at second eye, so that it will assist the government in in this tax reform or whatever. And let me say this: they may also have this that our National Assembly members. Majority of them are already in support of Mr. President. There is this what we call this proper stand syndrome. Whatever the government brings, we are going to approve it, and we are going to pass. And we know that if it does not have that, if that relationship does not have a basis in the constitution, it's not going to pay the people. Maybe that is making that suspicion in the leadership of NLC. But they should not just totally condemn the bill. The bill has its own merit. Let us look at it. Let us look at some of those areas that need to be addressed, the gray areas, and let them explain, in the land that the NLC leaders we understand. Some of us are, we already have that kind of understanding that if government has demonstrate that political will to implement what is on ground now, the draft reform, whatever, we are going to benefit from it. State will get more money, but how are we going to make state governors, state actors more accountable to the people? Because now that they remove the fuel subsidy, more money have gone to states. What do we see now? Some cannot even pay 70,000 naira. So that is why people are raising that down, including the NLC board leadership, that if you allow this man to go with another policy, to develop this policy, we may be worse off. But I will want to assure them that the best way to go about it is that look at it critically. If you don't have knowledge of tax, get that professional expertise that will give you what advice on what to do and what to table before government. It's not because I don't want to degenerate the situation whereby, oh, government is continuing with the process and you are not calling your members to come and what demonstrate or to go on strike. That will be unnecessary, and we should just drum it in their ears that it is not necessary. Dialogue, public discourse, negotiation, that will go a long way of benefiting your members than actually disagreeing with the federal government on the platform day.
Okay, all right. We thank you so much for that beautiful insight, Dr. Lafewa. So I'll come back. Let us just use this to round up this particular topic so that we'll move on to the next one. It seems that the NLC might probably be right that they feel like they might once again be tutored by the federal government, because this is not the first time things like this have been happening when it comes to promise for payment and other things that. So do you think that that fear of being probably once again cheated by the federal government is enough to drive this call for withdrawal of the tax reform bill?
I find that position disingenuous if that's the position that the NLC is taking as it were. And I'll give you my reason for finding it disingenuous. Although the conversation that people refer to two policies, principal policies. We had the subsidy removal policy, right, and then we had the second policy, which is the harmonization, and regularization of the Nigerian, foreign exchange rates. Now, what's the issue with those things, and what did people say about them that created such a furor? I'll tell you. Number one, it was politicized. First, all the candidates leading to said almost the same thing in terms of economic reforms with regard to this. In fact, some have gone on record as saying immediately, which is exactly what President Tinubu did. In doing it at that particular time, I feel, in retrospect, was his masterstroke, because any delay in time before implementing that would also have been an indictment on a campaign promise and can also be used politically, right, to wage war. Now, the other part that he said regarding the implementation, that there's mistrust, I find that very disingenuous, and I think it's the same politicization of issues that's playing out. If we remove fuel subsidy, naturally it means prices will go up. I do not imagine any scenario that a subsidy is removed and the price will stay the same. So I don't know what people were thinking about or what they think would happen when subsidy is removed. Prices would naturally go up. That's the first thing that happens before market stabilizes itself. And that's what we're seeing now. Thankfully, Dangote is on stream, Warri is on stream now, PH is on stream. So we have had to reduce some of the critical issues that added layers to the subsidy, like logistics costs, for example. So if we have a bit more local, supply, we reduce issues like, inadequate supply around. Supply in the scale, right? If you have a lot of supply, prices will go down. It's part of market dynamics. So ultimately, it should actually favor, since we have a large population, and we have large consumption for it. So I think it makes sense. Two, it reduces waste. So a lot of people, because fuel is cheap here, and some people travel around the world, it's cheap here. You can maintain 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, the burn fuel here, there. We've reduced our fossil emission as well, carbon emission as a country. In this period, if it's measured right, we've reduced it. So there's been multiple direct and indirect gains to it. The angle of the increased allocation to governors has always been an issue, and it was one of the things that played out in the fluctuations of the effects after the removal of the harmonization. It was discovered that coincidentally, after every federal FAC meeting and allocations are given, state, demand for the USD goes up, and then the coincidence was striking that it was believed that governors mop this up, and they get monies from the federal government, convert it to dollars, increase dollar demand, and the dollar rate goes up. I know we're fixing that now. We don't have that. In the last couple of months, we've had a relatively stable FX rate. So I don't know what they mean by they are afraid of the implementation. I've not seen how the ball has been dropped in terms of implementation. Some parts of growth will be painful. It's what we should all know, and we should be adults about it. If really we want the country to progress, some part of growth is painful. I've not seen any deviation in terms of expectation thus far. In fact, World Bank projections for the country is always getting better. Independent economic projections for the country is always getting better. We hear from investors here and there, and it's getting better. You know, there's a lot more confidence in, okay, this is the direction these guys are going in. So I don't see what is a reference in that sense. Now, having used that as the backdrop, we come back to the tax reform, but they've articulated what they want to do. Like I said, there are several workshops, several focus groups. They did a whole lot of stuff leading to the presentation. Very few people were invested. But when it became a political tool, when someone was brought up the VAT thing and said, oh, it means they're going to deny you income here, and then that's when a lot of people now jumped in and into these chaps have been engaging. Mr. Taiwo Idele is probably, if we're going to talk about like the first 10 people that this administration, you know, recruited, that would be Mr. Taiwo Idele. I'm not holding brief for him. So you can imagine the time he has spent on the project, him and his team, spent on the project this long and engaged the public this long. If you go to his LinkedIn page, he's always talking. YouTube, he's always trying to engage people. He's always trying to say something. If there is any dispute, you tag him along, any misunderstanding. So I don't see how there's a misrepresentation unless there's political mischief involved. And political mischief is a game of power. It does not serve the interests of the people. What it usually does, it will leverage on the weaknesses of the people. It will exploit your situation, right, as the citizens, and then it will call like, I'm fighting for you, but in reality I'm fighting for myself, because I have not seen a presentation either from the NLC or from even the governors who oppose on this, and these are the salient points that have not been cleared by experts, right? There's a reason we call people experts. There's a field of study. You cannot understand it with a layman's knowledge or a passive knowledge, or because you just Google one or two things and then, okay, you feel like I know what's going on. The concern for all of us as Nigerians, in my opinion, right now is we need to be focused on what we really want. And if what we want is a good country, we hold the presidency, we hold the legislature accountable, we hold the judiciary accountable. But we must focus on objective truth, right? This is what you said you're going to do about it. So let us have, what metrics should we measure you by? Be fantastic. I would like to evaluate, okay, so this is what you're promising, this is fine. Can we have a list of milestones that we are going to cross off that we can hold you accountable to? That's inclusive government. That
has not always been working in Nigeria.
It's not the working, it's the inclusion that first starts. You get the conversation started, there may be disagreement, but then it will even out if you're facing objective truth. Unfortunately, we've politicized everything, and who benefits? The politicians. It's not the technical, it's not the citizens. Who gets the power? Who gets, to make the rules? That's what people are now, but this is how they get us. It's by manipulating things that could be of benefit, but they think that they can swing it in another way and politicize, and they get us to start thinking the wrong way. I don't think workers will be opposed to knowing that their pay has been removed for a particular income level and reduced across. I don't think any company will be offended that they're reducing corporate tax from 30% to 25%. There's a waiver on VAT on a whole lot of products, and consumables. So where is the issue? It's actually supposed to help stimulate, because you have extra, you're not paying tax, you have extra, invest in the businesses and the sectors, and help the economy grow. I'm yet to see the downside pointed out, and the times of mistrust that's just political mischief. Mistrust is sentiment. If we're talking holistically in terms of what's there and what expectations are, from fuel subsidy to FX harmonization, it's pretty straightforward. You judge based on the metrics.
Well, if mistrust were to be a political issue, then I'm guessing there would not be need for contracts anywhere in the world. Would you not think that, okay, it is normal that humans generally don't trust each other, and to make sure that their own interest is protected, then perhaps they just come up, okay, let us probably sign this agreement that in case you are unable to meet up with your side of demands, and this is penalty for you, and if I'm unable to meet up with my side, then this is penalty for you.
We already have that. We have a social contract with our leaders. If the guy does not perform, you have the power to recall from the office. You can move If it's up to the president, you can move for an impeachment through your constituency. Nobody wants to put in that effort. We just know we want it to happen by magic. How? By fiat. That's why there was a term that they used to use a while back, political gangsters. That's how they became political gangsters. They can exploit the weaknesses in our limited knowledge of how the process works. So they make you say, oh, you really don't have anything you can contribute. But the same guy that says, I'm not listening to you, come back to beg you in 4 years' time. I mean, at some point you would realize that if I weren't so useful, you wouldn't be coming to me every 4 years, right, to seek my vote. So the political mischief angle is the problem we have in solving a number of our issues as a nation.
Okay, all right. So I would like you to hold that thought so that we would go to the next topic that we have available to us right now, because we're running out of time. So that's projections for 2025. We'll be looking at it from the angle of politics and the economy. So before we do that, let us quickly take this short break on local government in Nigeria. So local government autonomy in Nigeria so far. I'm sure that is one of the things that we will be discussing about. So let's go take that break, and when we come back, we'll resume discussions in the studio. To stay with us.
The Rivers State Chairman of All Progressive Congress, Tony Okocha, said the presentation of the 2025 Appropriation Bill to prove Fubara 5-member Rivers State House of Assembly is illegal and in violation of court rulings as well as English government protocol. Okocha, who spoke to journalists in Port Harcourt, said the government's action demonstrated a blatant disregard for rule of law and judicial pronouncement. Okocha also criticized the governor for his leadership style, which he described as divisive and confrontational, while accusing him of aiming for war instead of genuine reconciliation. He said he foresaw escalating political tensions in 2025, accusing the governor of stoking hostilities rather than fostering reconciliation. Okocha further clarifies that the status of the 27 lawmakers as not members of APD, rather as the members of People's Democratic Party (PDP) in the state.
It is unfortunate, it is unimaginable, it is unthinkable that a governor had risen through the ranks. If for nothing else, he was a civil servant, full-blown civil servant in the Ministry of Finance. It means, of course, that over the years, he's not a toddler in the business of budget and how it is presented. 27 of the assembly members are on this side. 3 members of assembly are on this side. And between you and I, is it not an anathema that a budget of a state as prominent and as all important as Rivers State were presented to an illegal setting? Court of Appeal in their various judgments from the days of Omotosho way back in January 2024, it is clear in the judgment of Omotosho that a budget has to be presented to a legislative arm under the leadership of Martins, Right Honorable Martins Chike Amegule. The governor is headed for a journey to perdition, self-destruct. I thought that in his 31st...
To have you back, and now to the topic we have at hand, that is projections for 2025. We will be considering the world of politics and economy, and thankfully we have the senior lecturer, Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan, here with us. So Dr. Lafewa, if we were to look at what is obtainable in our political terrain in 2024 and now moving into 2025, because when it comes to this issue of local government autonomy, that is something that we would like to consider. It's something that has been debated for a very long time, and despite the fact that we have court backing, it is still not achievable. So what are you expecting? What changes are you expecting in our political terrain for 2025?
Meant that that was in before. I think we are just postponing the day of it, and we are just having our development, our something, as sort of setback, because even the issue of autonomy itself, not many people understand what the concept is all about. Some people think that, oh, it is just only based on finances of the local government. When you are talking about local government autonomy, it has two strands. The first is political autonomy. The second one is administrative autonomy, and the other one is financial autonomy. When it comes to financial autonomy, I think the Supreme Court has given the verdict that the henceforth the statutory allocation to local government to go directly into the account of local government. But the issue of the section that talks about state joint local government account has not been resolved. The National Assembly has not amended that section, that says every money that comes or revenue that goes to local government should go into the state local government joint force. And they have they already have agencies deciding what to spend and not what not to spend and how to spend it. The second strand has to do with political autonomy. Even if they grant this financial autonomy and they start to implement it, you can see most of the governors that did not conduct election last year, 2024, 28 of them after the court judgment conducted local government election, and it's very obvious. The results about the results. The results, went into the way of the governors. The governors, put those people that he thinks will serve his interest. Let me give you an example of Rivers State. Rivers State, despite the court order that that stopped them from conducting that election, the election was conducted. The governor, who happens to be a PDP member, I don't know whether he has changed his party now, moved all his candidates to another party for them to win election, and declare them for a winner, and they started. So even if they grant them financial autonomy, will they be able, will people be able to elect, those that will satisfy their interest or promote their interest, or those that will promote the interest of the Mr. Governor, as we are having it today? That's 28 over 36 to say. They are all, those who won the elections came from the same party. Thirdly, we talk about administrative autonomy. Up to today, we are talking about recruitment, appointment, and promotion and dismissal of workers between grade level 1 and grade level 6. You can talk about local government service commission. But when it comes to grade level 7 and above, that state is there. The state controls them. That's why up to today, we have that dichotomy between the administrative organ and the political organ of the local government. They always have conflict. The political officers, the elected political officers, we initiate projects. For them to get approval from the administrative or get them implemented by the administrative agent, they have to seek the counsel of the governor. And up to today, most states still have a Ministry of Local Government, and some local governments, elected, chairmen and councillors, they vow that they are going to support their governors, and that was why they said, okay, let us give it. There must be 3 months waiting for them to implement the judgment, the court order. Now the 3 months have lapsed. What is going on with the local government funds? They are still going to local government account. So if we want to move forward, National Assembly has a lot of work to do. They still have to look at that some of the sections affecting local government in Nigerian Constitution. Because if you read that section 7 very well, although they said it says that elected local government council, councils are guaranteed, there. But if you look at section again, it says the appointment, the finances, the establishment of all those things related to local government has to, be carried out by a law that is made by the House of Assembly of that state. So how are we going to resolve that? And even in the interpretation of government in our constitution, the constitution says government in Nigeria means government at the federal, government at the state, and government at the local. If you check the constitution very well, you will see the powers of the legislature, power of the judiciary and the executive for the federal and the state. Where are those powers for local government? The only thing we have is all these permissive functions, highlighted in the first schedule. There's going to be a lot of what, problem, and we will change people at the grassroots level. So going forward, 2025, I think we need to, look at our concern again. And now that they have a committee reviewing the constitution, they should, look at that section that all those sections have been hindered them from implementing that court order. And this is not the first time. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit have already ordered that before, that they should not, collect local government fund, that states don't have anything to do with the we know what is going on. But people are no longer connected. Grassroots people are no longer connected with the local government, because it is only, within the jurisdiction of Mr. Governor. In fact, there was a workshop, that was, conducted for newly elected local government chairman. Some of them, ask us to talk to Mr. Governor that it is not, them having problems, but they don't give them free hand. The business of local government, they have to get order from Mr. Governor. And in my own state, when Mr. Governor came in, he removed those people that were there before. It was court that said, you have removed them illegally, go and pay them. I don't know whether he has finished paying them now. And we now have councillors and the local government determined. So we should not, there is no way they will not politicize, any issue, because that will do with the interest of individual, that's parties to do whatever issue or believe in whatever issue. What we need to do now is to make sure that we, going by our grand norm, the constitution is the grand norm. What does the constitution say? If there's any area that is going to bring about a problem or conflict, let us address that issue through constitutional review. That will help us a lot than trying to say, okay, the governor should do this, or the local government chairman should do this and do that. We know that the governor has immunity, but local government officials, they don't have that immunity. So they should make sure they obey court order, and if they know that there are all impediments in the constitution, let them approach the State House of Assembly and the National Assembly, for them to amend, to review, all these constitutional provisions, so that we will not have any constraints, hindering, the first aspect strand of local government autonomy, which is financial autonomy. And later we cannot put it. Some people are already saying that we should not allow state independent electoral commission to conduct elections, because the chairman and whatever, they are part of government office or machineries. So let INEC, that conducted the first free and fair credible local government election in 1998, start to conduct local government election, and let's see what will happen. And the issue of independent candidacy to also be introduced at the local government level. Let us try. Let's see. It has happened before. In 1987, General Babarazi Mwangida used to what they call zero party or they conducted election on zero party basis. And credible people were elected. People that were known, by their constituents, were elected. And there was no problem with that. So those are some of the things that I will, suggest to government for us to move on in 2025.
Thank you so much for being a part of Firecrackers today. We truly appreciate your inputs.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, all right. As it always is on this program, we usually run fast out of time. This is when we join the curtains close on today's episode of Firecrackers. We thank you so much for staying with us to the very end. And much thanks to my guest here in the studio. That's Femi Onakare, policy and economy analyst. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay, all right. My name is Iribami Salako, and once again, welcome to 2025. May it be a wonderful and beautiful year for us all. Do have a lovely year and week ahead. Goodbye. See you next week.